Hey everybody, Papa Dan here. How's everybody doing today? Hey, I wanted to come at you and give you a little update on my Arizona Memorial build. I haven't forgot about it. I have been working on it a little bit here and there. I've been kind of busy with Caleb's videos and everything, his buddy build, and then with little Tommy, which we had a ball doing that, and then his t-shirt video. He saw me wearing my Dr. Cranky t-shirt and he wanted a t-shirt. So I said, well, instead of, maybe we can get you a Dr. Cranky t-shirt down the road here. I'm not even sure if they're available in kid sizes or not, but I said, why don't we make your own t-shirt? So that's how that got started. So I made up the two designs for him and on my computer, and he couldn't decide which one he liked the best. So he said, well, let's make a video and ask little Tommy what he thinks. So that's where that all started. I've been without internet service for the last couple of days, so as far as responding to everybody on that video, I want to apologize. That's why I hadn't responded, or Caleb hasn't responded. So, but I do very much appreciate everybody voting, and Caleb would come in from school and let's see the votes, let's see the votes. And so he's probably going to end up with both shirts. I mean, how can I say no? He's such a cool kid. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for voting the way you did and supporting Caleb in his Caleb's Corner. So he's having a ball with that. He's already picked out his next build that he wants to do, but I told him he's got to give me a little bit of time so I can get caught up on my builds a little bit. So let me turn this camera around a little bit here so I can show you what we got going, and I'll be right back. So what I did is I was messing around. I went on a scale calculator and figured out I got the measurements of the actual building and took those measurements and then went by the scale of the ship, which is 1/426 scale, and started drawing it out and everything, and I'm like, man, this doesn't look right. Something's wrong with this. So contacted Chris Chapman and we started chatting about it, and then I happened to remember a comment that Chris Cortell made from Classic Plastic 101 that he's been there and he actually saw it. So I thought, well, maybe he would have a better view of what it should be like as far as scale goes and everything. So we got Chris Cortell on Facebook chat, and the three of us are talking, and they confirmed that it was right. The measurements were right and everything. So I'm trying to draw this out on a piece of paper, and it was getting really hard to draw it out as small as it needed to be. Well, then I thought, hey, you dummy. I doubled the measurement that it should be. It should be a little over 5 inches. So I doubled that to like 10 inches, a little over 10 inches. And I started drawing it out that way. And this is what I came up with, if you can see that. And then what I did is I took it over. This would be the sides here, because both sides would be exactly the same. This would be the roof and the bottom, and then this over here would be the two end pieces. So I took this over to my computer and then just reduced it by 50% and came up with this, which is the actual size that it needs to be. So then I took this and my flat styrene pieces that I had bought, and I went out to my scroll saw and actually cut it out on my scroll saw. And at the end of this video, I made a video. Excuse me. I made a video while I was doing it. And at the end of this, I'll tag this on there. So if any of you are interested in seeing how I actually cut it out on my scroll saw, that'll be at the end. But if you're not, then don't watch. So, but this is what if I can get it in here, this is what I came up with. This is the memorial building for the ship. And there's the top. And the nice thing about cutting it out on the scroll saw, if I can get it to work here, maybe if I put my hand back here behind it, you can see that, yeah, that's my phone going off, somebody's texting me. But you can see that the viewing areas are exactly lined up from one side to the other, and that's because they were both cut at the exact same time. I actually stacked the plastic pieces, the styrene pieces, on top of each other and cut them both at the same time. And again, I'll show you how I did that at the end. So, and then I cut both the roof piece and the bottom piece at the same time, then separated them, so that way they were both the exact same size, then separated them, and then cut the pieces out of the roof line there, out of the roof. So really all I have left to do on this is to do a little bit of sanding. I used a little bit of Mr. Dissolve putty to just get a few of the gaps that I had. I had a few little gaps on either side, so I used that to fill in those gaps, and then put it all together, and now I just got to sand it out, and that will be pretty much done. The only thing missing on this is a design that is cut in one end on one side, and it's called, I found out through my research on this, it's called the Tree of Life. And this is actually a statue that sits in the Arizona Memorial Park, I guess. I guess there's like a park when you first get there. And this is a statue that sits there. Yeah, it's Chris Chapman. So this is a statue that sits as, kind of greets you, I guess, as you're walking into the park. And this is also cut out on one side of the memorial building here at the end. My original intention was to actually cut that out also on my scroll saw, but when I actually made this and saw how small it was, there's no way that I'm going to be able to cut that in scale here on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a decal and put the decal on there. So then that's going to sit, and I'll flip this around here so that you can see it, if it'll all stay together here, because I just got the ship kind of mocked up right now. Let me flip this around here real quick. And that's about where it's going to sit. Because if I'm looking at the pictures correctly that I'm seeing online, let me get a pointer here. This right here, this piece right here, is where the the flag is mounted, the flagpole that's mounted, that comes up this way. This is the turret that you see in the picture here that is still above water. So that's the next problem that I have to work out, because, and I'm sure it's probably because of the damage that was done to the ship in the bombing, but with this turret being above water and being the only section that's above water, what that means is that all of this back here is below water, and if you look at this ship from a profile, that turret there is not tall enough to do that. So what I need to do is, probably what I'm thinking is a combination of two things. One, I'm going to build this turret up just a little bit higher, or two, which I've kind of already started, is taking this part of the ship and lowering it, which, as you can see, I've started doing that here by taking off all the supports that were underneath here that kept this up like this, and then that way it was able to sit down a little bit further. And I can't actually eliminate this because then that's what's underneath it, but I am thinking I'm going to have to take all of this off as well. This gun turret is still on the ship. There's actually video of that. That's the only one left on the ship. The other three gun turrets, I found out, they were removed back in World War II to use as spare parts for other turrets on other battleships. So that's I found that was kind of interesting. And then one of the turrets, there's actually just, and I believe it's this one, I got to do a little more research to make sure I got the right one. But the only thing left is like the shell of it, the two sides. If I can get them to stay there, man, my hands are so shaky today. But it's going to be something like this, and I just knocked over the other one. But anyways, you get the idea. It's just the shell. So I've already cut that turret into two pieces so I can get that on there. So that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at so far, and I'm getting there. And oh, one other thing that I had thought about doing, and Dr. Cranky, you're gonna be proud of me if you're watching this. I was thinking of ways that I could raise this turret and still keeping it kind of in scale a little bit. And of course it's going to be all rusted, and there's going to be, you know, the seaweed and barnacles and all that kind of stuff all over the ship. So I got to thinking, and I could do something like that. Cut this down just a little bit, because that's obviously a little too tall. But cut that down a little bit, paint it up, but it is the right size as far as being around it. It fits right over that turret just like a glove. And it would be kind of like Dr. Cranky's rusty cap that he had put out a while back. So anyways, that's one idea that I had. So anyways, if any of you guys have any ideas other than what you know, I've already talked about, hey, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm always willing to listen to more ideas and everything. I think I've got the water figured out, how I'm going to do that, but I'll save that for the next video. And when I get a little closer to that, I think the next step that I'm going to be doing right now is get this in primer, which will be a rusty primer. I'll use that as a base coat, and then start weathering the ship up and getting some seaweed on there and looking like it's been underwater all this time. So anyways, that's the update, guys. And like I said, stay tuned, and if you want to watch how I cut it out on the scroll saw, that'll be coming up right after this. Alright, so thanks a lot, guys, and we'll talk to everybody later. Bye-bye. Excuse me. But what I've got here is the memorial building, and I've shrunk it down to the actual size that I want it, which is 5 inches across. And I've got 2 pieces of styrene here taped together, and because I'm going to be cutting multiple parts out at the same time, both of the side pieces are exactly the same, so I can cut those out at the same time. The end pieces up here are going to be the same, and the top and bottom, the only difference between the top and the bottom is these cutouts that are going to be running across the top here. Sorry about that, I'm got a new camera angle here so you guys can see here. But these only get cut out at the top. So what I'm going to do is make all the cuts that I can. Those will be the last cuts that I make. And this is just a scroll saw is what I'm going to be cutting these on. It's a DeWalt 20-inch scroll saw. It's nothing really fancy or anything. It's a nice scroll saw, no doubt about it. It is a very nice scroll saw, but again, it's not the most expensive one on the market. So what I did here is, if this looks like cardboard, that's because it is. I've got this taped to my table because I wanted a very small hole for the blade to go through here, just to give this little these little cutouts that are going to be right here, and the in between the cutouts up here. I just wanted to give it a little more support, and the hole that's in my table is actually kind of large for that, so just made a temporary table here, and I just got it taped down. So anyways, it might get a little loud when I turn on the scroll saw. It shouldn't be too bad though. But and this is what they call the blade that I'm using is called a number 3 or 3/0 spiral blade. And the reason I'm using, I got the hole so small I can't find it. There we go. The reason I'm using a spiral blade, I always use spiral blades, is because I don't have to worry, since I'm going to have a lot of angles to cut here when I'm cutting out these openings. I don't have to worry about flipping this around to feed it into the blade. With the spiral blade, I can cut in any direction. We'll get it tensioned up here, and let's see what we got. Alrighty, there's one. Well, actually two. We'll just move this over a little bit and we'll get the next one here. I've actually been wanting to play with this because I saw somebody's video. I can't remember who it was now, but I saw somebody's video to where they actually cut flames out of the front fenders. And I've been wanting to experiment with that using my saw here. Because as you can see, it cuts right through the styrene, and like I said, this is two thicknesses, but it cuts right through it with no problem. In fact, when I was really into my scroll saw, I was doing a lot of scroll saw work. There's a catalog that I get that that's what I get for that. It's powered by a foot pedal down here, and my foot accidentally went down a little too quick. But anyways, I've gotten some plastic mirror before, and I've used it to cut out several different things out of plastic mirror, which is really cool. And all I did with, after I got this printed, the pattern printed on my printer, I just used a temporary bond spray adhesive to attach it to this. And this is just blue painter's tape that's holding the two pieces of styrene together. I've got it all the way around all four edges, and then did one solid layer of it going across the face of it so that I could glue this pattern down, and it sticks to the glue, or I mean it sticks to the tape and not to the styrene. So there's a whole lot less cleanup that way. All I have to do now when I'm done is just pull this blue painter's tape off, and that doesn't leave much residue to clean up at all. Alright, now here comes what's going to be the hardest part of this whole thing. Cutting straight lines with scroll saws is not the easiest thing to do. Especially when you're using a spiral blade. But we're going to give it a shot here. notch that up a little bit there. So anyways, here's my two pieces here, my two side pieces. I don't know if I kept that in screen or not. That's one of them. And the nice thing about cutting them together like this is they're both going to be the same. There we go, there's my two side pieces. So, oops, get them up there where you can see them. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other pieces cut out here, and then I'll get back to you.